Good evening. I am the Maven of the Eventide. Welcome to Vampire Reviews.
I received the ARC for my Kindle in return for an honest review from the writer, and I'm so happy I did. This is the review of The Company of Death. So, Death, a half-zombie, a robot, and a human and a vampire meet in the apocalypse. It sounds like some joke, but this novel isn't a joke. It's her debut novel, and the sort of bizarre, brilliantly quirky characters fit this sort of story of just what's left of humanity. It's a very human story, and even when the protagonist isn't quite human herself. The book follows Emily, one of the last surviving humans in a world torn apart by zombies and vampires. She is part of a group that is trying to stop zombie threat and try and get humanity to take over the world and so on. Something goes horribly wrong, and to avoid becoming a zombie, she kills herself. Or at least tries to. And Death, yes, the living embodiment of Death himself shows up and is stripped of his powers by time. It leaves her in this really weird position. She's basically undead like a zombie, but she's still able to walk and talk and think, and she's still who she is. And she follows Death around to try and find out what the hell is going on. From there they meet a human and a robot duo, Scott and Carol, and they're both heading in the same direction, a mission of their own, and they meet a vampire who is looking to escape the consequences of his actions. So essentially, this book is a road trip. I probably described it in a really dry way, but this book is essentially a road trip. You meet the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and I'm slightly obsessed with it. So, first things first, Death as a character does not like people at all. He's not been around people for a very long time. He's mysterious, and and he's so socially awkward. It's kind of like the fictional embodiment of me. Great character, great writing, and just it's strange to have someone like him in a book. Because I've read books with Death in them, and probably the most well-known book I've read about Death is The Book Thief. But Death isn't the main character, he's the narrator. In this, he's the main character, and basically, how do I put it? He's kind of stuck. He's as stuck as everybody else, and has some idea what's going on, but you're never quite sure what's going on. You're never quite sure what's going on in his skull. And for pretty compelling reasons, the horsemen of the apocalypse throw him under the bus. And I'm trying not to give too much away in talking about this. I loved the vampire character. I will say that. He's the one that you spend the least time with, because this book is obviously a series, and you get that impression from the get-go, because it sets up hell of a lot. I had to laugh because the writer plays a character on YouTube called Maven of the Eventide, a YouTuber who discusses vampire media. And it didn't really surprise me that she could create such an compelling vampire character. He's dramatic, he loves music, he crafts his way of getting out of and then back into trouble is a lot of fun. He's a really interesting character, and for terms of this being her debut novel, I think it's the first step into a long-term writing career. I could see that with this, because she writes compelling characters, the scenes are compelling, it never feels stunted, the world building is very good. I've not quite read a book like this, and I'm genuinely surprised by it. She sets up everything so brilliantly, and it's so on point, that you're like, how? How? I want to get inside her brain, to be blunt about it. And that's what got me. I want to get inside her brain and find out her thinking process, because that would just be fascinating. It's unique, it's compelling, it's gripping, and once I started reading, I couldn't put it down. I literally read half the book on a train ride to a place, and half the book on the train ride back, and I wanted so much more, and I can't wait for book 2, because I will be all over that. The minute book 2 is announced, I will be reading it. It leaves a lot unexplained, but it leaves you wanting more. It sets so much up, and it has a lot to do as a book, and that's always a little bit difficult in the first book of a series. Genuinely brilliant, and I can't wait for more from her as a writer, and I'm going to put a link to her YouTube channel down below, because she is brilliant, and probably one of the people who got me into being a YouTuber. What I will say is, be ready for something quite dark, but there's almost an element of black comedy to it and a little bit of cynicism, but just little dashes here and there. And this sort of cast of characters that get thrown together in the best way possible. So tell me what you think. Have you read it? I will also put a link down below for the book if you guys want to buy a copy. So there we go. I'll talk to you guys later.